Best day of your life and worst day of your life. What comes up to mind when I ask you those questions? What are those days?
It sounds kind of crazy, I think, but I think the happiest day of my entire life was the day I stopped being an American and I was no longer a U.S. citizen. That was literally the happiest day of my entire life. I think I was, more happy that day than when, Bitcoin hit, $100 or $1,000 or any of the price points that Bitcoin hit or anything else that's happened in my life. I think the happiest day was when I stopped being an American. I just felt so incredibly free at that point, and just finally felt like I had much more control over my own life and my own destiny and my own future. So that was a really, really, really wonderful feeling. And the worst day of my life, I don't know. I think it's the mindset. Like even I've had some, bad things happen to me. I think when the FBI and ATF raided my place and took me to jail, most people would look at that as a really, really bad day. But now I can look at that and say, hey, I have some really awesome prison stories and stories of being raided by the ATF and the FBI. And so even when really, really bad things happen, you need to look at the silver lining. And there's a great, proverb called the Chinese farmer. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but basically it's a story, and there's the Chinese farmer, and I forget each step of the story, but like the first one is like his horse runs away, and the neighbor says, oh, that's really too bad. Your horse ran away. You needed the horse. And the farmer says, maybe that's too bad. Maybe not. And then the next day, the horse that ran away, it comes back, but it brought 3 wild horses with it. And the next door neighbors say, oh, that's great. Now you have 3 more horses. And he goes, maybe. And then his son tries to tame the wild horses and gets kicked off the wild horse and falls down and breaks his leg. And the neighbors say, oh, that's horrible. Your son broke his leg. He can't help you around the farm now. And the Chinese farmer goes, maybe. And then the next day, the military draft tribunal shows up at his house looking to draft people into the military, but his son has a broken leg, so he can't be drafted into the military. And the neighbors say, oh, that's great, isn't it? And the farmer goes, maybe. And so it's kind of like this. You don't really know in life, even if something seems really fantastic or really horrible at the moment, in the long term, maybe it's not fantastic, or maybe it's not horrible after all. And you really don't know it at the moment with a lot of these things. And so just enjoy the journey along life, because you don't really know where it's going to take you. And if you'd asked me, a decade ago, did I think I'd be sitting here today having this chat with you? No, I wouldn't. And where we'll be in a decade from now, we don't really know, but let's enjoy the journey to get there.
Yeah, I love that proverb. I'm really glad you said it better than I've heard it before as well. It does trouble me a bit, Roger, that a young man like you, who's a risk taker, who's innovative, who's out there, creating these incredible marketplaces and companies, ends up having an experience where you want to leave what we consider the country that's supposed to embody those kinds of things. There's something fundamentally wrong with that narrative. And it bothers me. I guess it bothers you too. But do you ever wonder why that happened in a country where that's supposed to be the place where that doesn't happen?
Yeah, I think Americanism is an idea, not a place, and not even a country, right? It's the idea that you have control over your own life and your own destiny and your own finances, and your life belongs to you. It doesn't belong to the politicians. And that's what the American Revolutionary War was fought over. And it's kind of interesting. Like I'll ask people sometimes, when is it okay to shoot the police? Right? When is it okay to shoot a government agent? And almost everybody says, never. You should never shoot the police. And ask an American that and say, oh, so you think America should still be part of England? And you can see the light bulb go off in their head. Wait a minute. America became its own country by literally shooting the police and shooting government agents and saying, no, we will not obey. And so maybe sometimes it is okay, right? Maybe this is going to be the moment where YouTube, bans our video for even saying that sometimes it's okay to shoot the police or shoot a government agent. But if the answer is no, it's never okay, well, America would have never become a country. And if you look at the history of human civilization, it's the lawbreakers that make progress in society, right? What if Rosa Parks had decided to obey the law and wouldn't sit at the front of the bus, right? How many more decades would have gone by before people were allowed to sit anywhere they wanted on the bus, regardless of what color their skin was? It's the lawbreakers like, Rosa Parks and Thomas Jefferson and George Washington that move society forward. And so if people aren't willing to take a risk and break the law, humankind doesn't move forward. And so I think it's really important to understand that sometimes it's a good thing when people break the law.